Welcome. All right, Sheila, it looks like it's going to probably be a very intimate conversation. I'm waiting for people to join still, but I'm glad that you're here today.
Thank you very much, and no problem. And if you don't have anyone to join, I can get the next session also.
Oh,
So you
no,
just let
no,
me know.
no, not at all. No, absolutely. We're going to go ahead and get going with this.
Okay, thank you.
All right, welcome. All right, well, I want to make sure that you're able to see my screen. You can type in the chat or you can give me a thumbs up. Either way, I'll be able to see that. All right. I don't want to take up your time, so I want to go ahead and get started. And if you're joining us for the first time, I would like to say thank you. Business therapy is really an idea that birthed from me supporting people in my community and has allowed me to become more of an advocate and a strategist with my clients outside of doing financial services operational work. So to get started, I'll tell you a bit about me. So my name is Eduvijes Perez. And just for kicks here, I will say that I have just started using my name, my first name, over the last year, and it has allowed me to bring my whole self to my work. And so I want to thank those of you who attempt to say it and would like to support you in allowing me to bring my whole self to any conversation that we're in. And I'd be more than happy, even if you're saying it wrong, to as many times as you need to share with you how you pronounce it. So I am a futuristic, ideating, strategic, positive arranger, and that really comes from Gallup's strengths. I take what I do very seriously, and so financial consulting is what I want to bring to the movement of Black Lives Matters, even though this particular item started way before then. But when I think about how I can support our communities and how I can do a great job of making sure people have the financial acumen to do great work, I feel like I can bring my whole self to a team. So what we'll talk about today is how to diagnose your gaps in your financial framework, and we'll talk about facts over feelings and what that really means. When we are looking at challenges in our business, sometimes we don't necessarily think about the processes that go with it. And so you'll hear me talk about this a lot. What we're going to do first is identify where we are, we're going to plan, and then we're going to build. All right. So assessing where you are financially, and then identifying where you want to be, and kind of looking at things from a backward stance is how we're going to work through this framework. And we're going to talk about systems and things that you can do in your business in order to make this possible. With COVID-19, many businesses weren't prepared. They didn't have systems in place. They didn't know how to identify where their customers were, and a variety of other things that we're going to try to assess right now and work forward in making sure that you guys have a better understanding of what that means. Okay, so the hardest part of getting healing is recognizing that there is a problem, and many businesses don't see that they have a failed system because they haven't failed yet. And so what that means is they may actually just they're making money, but they don't know how much money they're making. They don't understand their profit margins. And so we're going to talk about some systems that can help you with that. The next conversation will be the donut shop. So for many years, I've gone into this donut shop, and they have a clunker of a cash register, and they then take a credit card machine and run their sales through it. Now, back in the day, that was really the thing to do. In order to make sure that you had credit card processing, you would use your cash register and just make sure that sales said credit card, but you tie the numbers at the end of the day. Well, I'd gone into this donut shop many of times, and I asked the owner several times to say, hey, you know what? Let me support you. What you really need is another type of system in place that's going to tell you more information about what you're selling, and it's going to tell you more about your customer. So not only do they have this cash register and the credit card machine next to it, they also offered you like a punch card system where you could get reward points and eventually get free donuts for shopping with the client. Well, over time, they actually got a better system. But unfortunately, you'll find that they didn't actually use the system. It was very interesting to say that what they ended up doing was still use the clunker of a cash register, and then they would just like the other credit card machine, run their credit cards through it. Now, what were they losing? They were losing information on their most important sales. I'm sure they had an idea, but maybe they didn't really understand what they could use that information for. So say, for instance, in the donut shop, they could have taken the sales for maybe in my case, I really love the old-fashioned donuts. And so if you saw that maybe those old-fashioned donuts sold better on a particular day because you were using a system that gave you more data, you could then make more of those items on a particular day, so that way you could support the customer need as well as not have product not leaving the shelves in an appropriate time. So I say this to say, don't be the donut shop. Don't go in and put in systems and don't use them properly. And so what I will ask you to do at the end of this conversation is make sure that you use all of your resources available to you, and business therapy can be one of those. All right, so business revenue challenges. When we think about our revenue, a lot of times we are not assessing profitability when we're looking at items that we come up with. And so, I'll give you an example for a business that I've worked with recently. So let's go with a law firm. A law firm, they had a very great niche market. They had a lot of business because there are very few of them in the industry. But what they wanted to do was assess whether or not they should be bought or whether or not they should move forward with expanding their own business. But the issue is that they didn't understand their billable hours. And I could go down a list of things for you, but what I really want you to understand is, what does it take in order to get that revenue? What are the expenses that goes into that? And I'll give you a more relevant example that's happening with COVID-19. So I'm going to mirror the experience of the law firm along with the making of masks. Okay, so if you know that for the law firm, they basically needed to understand how much did it cost them to get that particular contract and how much work that they had to put in order to see it through. Okay, the same thing would happen with a mask. So with a mask, you know that you have to go and buy materials. So that whether that's fabric or whether that is the elastic that goes into it, and maybe you have some embellishments, right? And you're going to look at that mask and go in and identify, okay, what would be my selling point of this? Well, you need to start to understand what it's going to take you to do it. So starting out, maybe it takes you 20 minutes to sew it, right? Well, in the case of the law firm, what they weren't identifying is how many hours that they actually put in order to make the money that they needed to make. Okay, so we'll go back to the mask example. In this case, if it takes you 20 minutes and you want to give yourself, let's say on average $10 for that 20-minute time frame, then you want to make sure that if your selling point is going to be, let's just say $20, that you're looking at the fact that you have to put your time into that. And if your material cost is $10 and your time you're going to bill at $10, that means that you're not making a profit. And so there's something that's going to happen there. You're either going to have to reduce the number of hours or the time that it takes you to make that so that you can get value back on the input that you have there, or you're going to have to reduce your product to bill cost. In that case, the materials that it's going to take. So I'll go back to the challenges that my law firm had. The law firm would not write down the number of hours that it took them in order to satisfy the contract. And so because these contracts would take maybe 3 months to do, and over time in a month, they may only have, let's just say 10 of those, okay? Because of the value of time, when I went back and looked at their company from a SWOT analysis perspective, interviewing every single employee, and even some of those clients, you would find that a lot of times they were not making money. And so they didn't clearly understand that maybe the reasons why they weren't making money was simply because of the fact they weren't calculating the time in order to go back in and really streamline it. And so that's when processes come into place, okay? All right, so lack of cash, lack of clients, lack of processes. That's what you'll see a lot of times. And I kind of brought the fun back into what COVID-19 is, and that we knew we had a lack of resources at the beginning of this thing. And so now that we have more resources and we have more people that are kind of going back into business, we want to make sure that we understand what we need to do next, okay? All right, so facts over feelings here. We need to document our business. So when we talk about systems, we want to ensure that you have systems in place. Do you have financial statements? Those financial statements are going to tell you a story. Storytelling with your numbers is probably the best thing that you can ever do for your organization. And it doesn't have to cost you a lot. You know, a lot of people in their minds, they know QuickBooks, but there's things like Wave that's out there, and it's a free accounting system that can allow you to really understand the money that's coming in and the money that's going out. If you just take the time to do that, and I know it sounds simple, but if you take the time to do that, not only can you understand where your revenues are coming from and document them, but there's some other things that you can do with it. All right, so once we really understand where we want to be from a revenue perspective, we want to identify where we want to be financially. In the idea of our face mask segments, we would take components of our information and then build our needs. So I'll give you an example of if I'm making face masks, but when I first started out, I was just doing it kind of as a hobby thing. But now I've lost my job and I need to do this thing for to reimburse me for the income that I lost in wages. You want to now assess how much it's going to take you in order to get there. One of the best ways to do that is to kind of go back to the original conversation on building out those face masks, is to know how many do you need to do in a day? How many do you need to do in a month? So that way you can create those sales plans or those things that, as far as your customer base, how many people do you need to get in front of? Again, and also how much does it cost you to get that customer? Working backwards and restructuring your revenue. Working backwards is an idea of assuring that you have your goals in place. You can use restructuring your revenue backwards to do a lot of things here. One of the ways in which I've done this is in modeling. So you can play and tool with modeling for your particular businesses to assess not only your beginning plans, but your long-term plans. So I'll give you an example of one of the things that I am doing with a client now. I have a client that is doing a business plan, and he is trying to identify when he can hire some additional employees or staff. And so that's when we want to work backwards. We know what it's going to cost us in order to how much sales we need in order to hire those people, and we know when we want to have that in place. And so that's going to allow us to build the revenue streams over time to get there. So if we go in first with saying, okay, in order for me to get this long-term plan, I need to have a base contract. I need to have a base contract that's going to pay me X number of dollars. And then if I have additional contracts on top of that, that maybe they aren't on a consistent basis, I can then identify a way in from a sales perspective to get there. And so knowing your clients, knowing what the income and revenue that you need in order to move forward, it's going to really allow you to be more thoughtful in working backwards in these things. And financial modeling is one of the things that if you don't know how to do that, you want to make sure that you have a team or people in place that can help you identify some of these things. It's going to depend upon the complexity of your business on how you do that modeling. It's going to depend upon pricing. It's going to depend upon client sales funnels. It's going to depend upon maybe even your diversified product, because you may have one product that you're selling it, but you're selling it in a different way. So maybe you're packaging some things. Maybe you have a consulting business on the side of that, and maybe you actually have a product. So understanding all those different elements of revenue will allow you to build backwards on what you need in order to ensure that your revenue streams are what you need in the future. All right, so business therapy is really a place where I've sat for the last 20 years. I've done financial storytelling. I've used analytical data, and I really do this because financial planning and business and people's businesses is really a relationship that they have. People don't build businesses the way that they do because they are just doing it. They are doing it because it's a process or something that they love. And when we think about that, it's something that's dear to our heart. And so when we bring people into our business, we want to make sure that we have the right relationships. And so as a business therapist, I want to take every person along the way with me so that they understand what they're doing and why they're doing it, and really to gain profitability in the end. Again, when I started this, I said to you, the reason why I want to do this more now than ever before is because I believe that this is what's going to help minority businesses grow. It's what's going to help us become more economically stable. It's going to help us determine how we can move forward in our communities and bring people along. The greatest thing about entrepreneurship is that, especially in our space, is that small businesses are probably one of the greatest powerhouses to create the engine that we call the economy. And so when you're able to not only work in your business, but work on your business and bring people along that you can hire to do that, you power the world around you. And so what I want to do is ask you, more than anything, is to take a journey for yourself, but also if you'd like to take a journey with other business owners. The reason why I'm doing business therapy right now is because I want to offer something to our community, and that is a cohort of community and accountability that is going to take you to the next level in your business. A lot of times we believe that we can take some of these seminars, we can do we can have a win in our business and we're all excited. But what happens when the excitement is gone? What happens when you know, maybe you had a bad day, or maybe you had a bad experience with a customer, or maybe you had a loan, or you had a loan that you were anticipating didn't come through. You can sometimes get down on yourself on how you're going to move forward. However, if you're doing this in community and accountability, you can move forward in a way that is going to allow you to really push you forward. We're in a space right now that we need you small businesses, and we need the small businesses around us to power a movement. And I'm just going to be honest with you. We need to be able to go in and do a lot of this with the people that we know. We need to be more accountable to the businesses that are minority and women owned. We need to empower them. On the 19th of June, we'll start a whole concept of supporting or raising $5 million. And so we want to make sure that we can do that. The only way that we're able to do that is if businesses have systems and things in place in order to move them forward. And so if you'd like, after this call, we're going to offer the business therapy cohort that's going to start in August for the constituents that are on the call. The course is a 6-week course, and it costs a mere $89 to just work together in community and business. So as we go into a Q&A section, I would love for you to go and follow us on Instagram, or you can contact me directly for a business therapy session. Those who are on the call will get a 30-minute inquiry with me, with a 15-minute kind of Q&A, question and answer piece, where we can talk through maybe some challenges that you're having in your business. And you know, now is the time. If you do have questions, I'd love for you to come off mute and see if we can answer some of your business therapy questions right here in this space. Anybody working on any major projects that would like to get some general advice on how to move forward? All right, I'm going to pick on Girly Shop. Girly Shop teacher, can you tell me maybe some of the things that you're working on right now?
Oh, hi. How are you, Eduvijes?
I'm good.
Thank
I'm
you for this.
good.
Thank you for this platform. Yes. First and foremost, thank you for being my business therapist. Can I toggle back 2 years ago when I didn't know what Girly Shop teacher meant, but you seem to have had a notion that it meant something more than what I was saying. And you drew out of me an experience that I was not expecting, which leads to today. We have pitched a business plan for a content creator space for $100,000 investment. And with that $100,000 investment, we have currently made it to the semifinal round. And this is actually the very first business pitch that has ever been submitted. So the entire premise is to have a place where creators can come and record their work as they're building a project within the framework of the construction industry. And that those content pieces are able to, draw in monetary funds for the creator as well as for the space itself.
Absolutely. So one of the things that you said is you said we.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't you just in silos, but it was you as far as a visionary. How do you use business therapy currently in order to help you move forward? Like what are some of the things that your team or the we, how do they bring something to the table for you?
Well, there's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, take a team. And that is what business therapy has done. Girly Shop teacher 2 years ago was basically working in isolation. It was just me doing what I thought I was supposed to do, which was some cutesy stuff and, putting a couple posts up on social media to say, hey, you can be in construction too. But because of you and business therapy, the team aspect has come alive. There are so many aspects of construction that I simply understand and that I know. And there's so many avenues and areas within the business realm that are foreign concepts to me. I'm consistently learning and absorbing the information and adapting it so that I can do what's right for the business, which is in turn propelling the business, and it's got this trajectory behind it that I knew I needed, I knew I wanted, I just didn't know how to get there.
Absolutely.
So sometimes you don't know what you need. You just have to say, okay, I know I need something. And you put it out there and you're like, I don't know what to ask for. I know these are the things that I know. How can you or someone else enrich what I'm doing with your knowledge base? So that's what has happened for us with business therapy. And I say we and I say us because this is every bit of a collective.
Absolutely. And so just to kind of give you some perspective there, some of the resources that business therapy has supported Girly Shop Teacher with just recently is some of that financial planning on what does a creator space, what can it do? What kind of money can it bring, and what are the types of revenues that it can bring to the table, and then also working backwards, like what do we need to do if we're going to get this investor, how can we pay them back? And so that's what I mean by starting to understand what type of revenue you need, and then sometimes working backwards in that.
Right.
The other resources that we were looking at as far as business therapy, when I told I kind of went through kind of what my strengths are, and one of those things is being futuristic and ideating is one aspect of things. But the fact that I am an arranger, I take bits of information with everything that I do, and I bring it back to my clients. I bring them resources to say, hey, here's an organization that's doing this that could support you with these things. And that information is not just here in Dallas, it's global. And when you take those elements into your business, it powers it. And when I tell you that there are conversations that happens with Girly Shop Teacher and business therapy on a consistent basis, there's a connection, and then there's an accountability to say, hey, did you do what you needed to do? And it's the same thing on the other side. When you're doing things in community as business owners, you grow. You can use shared resources. You can use shared systems. And so what I, again, love to offer you is that community and that accountability. And so I thank Girly Shop for sharing a bit of her new news. And I will just say the creator space is just an element of Girly Shop Teacher.
Yeah.
Girly Shop Teacher has been on national platforms with Disney Plus and different things. We're just ideating on a new space that Girly Shop can operate in. And so do we have any other questions or anything that we can address or talk with in this space?
Hi, this is Sheila, and I just want to ask a question with regards to the use of the term we.
Mhm.
So, is we a team of individuals that work along with you, Ms. Perez? Are you to the business owner and you and that collaboration?
We actually have a team. So there is a co-owner of in the back of CE Financial Group that is kind of the powering element of business therapy. Not only do we have a plethora of accountants that work with us and financial analysts, but we have people who are Six Sigma certified. We have people who can come in and help you with scaling your marketing tools. There's a whole range of people that are behind business therapy that support the work that happens in businesses. So it is not just an individual, it is definitely a collective.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions? All right. Well, I always want to be mindful of the time, and thank you so much for being here. This video will be sent out once we're done, and you're more than welcome to share that with any business owners that you might think could use some of the tools and even maybe some of the conversation. I mean, the whole point of doing this series is really to share with businesses some general content, but I love to go deeper, and we'll do deeper intent within the 6 weeks of the cohort. We'll go into what does your setup look like. We'll go into how are you planning? Like really, what are the steps that you're doing? Are you calling these things out? And we're going to be accountable with you. Like we're going to make sure that you're pushing through and assessing where you are to make sure you birth that thing. We are doing this not in silos. This is more important work than you could ever think. Now more than ever before, we need communities of minority and minority and woman-owned businesses to come to fruition, to have the same accountability and availability of teams that you know, our other counterparts have. Like that's just the thing that we haven't done. We haven't done this in a collective. And so we want to make sure that we're pushing this as a collective unit to make sure that every business thrives. Every business has what it needs in order to move forward. And we're going to do this in relation. And we're going to do this in with accountability within a community. So again, I thank you for today. Please go follow us on Instagram if you're not following us already, and look forward to the sign up link to join us for the business therapy cohort starting in the middle of August. So I thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you at the next session. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew, did you have any questions?
I actually invited Andrew. Andrew, say something. Show yourself.
Sorry, I have myself on mute and stuff. I was just, I'm actually a business consultant. I went to business school and I love Tammy, and I'm trying to figure out like different ways of, how, different approaches. And I love your message and like the way you present it. It's so much clearer than a lot of my stuff. And I'm a really intersectional small business maker. Like I do fabrication and stuff, and I really look up to Tammy, and I think you have excellent advice, and I'm really excited to see about what Girly Shop Teacher has in the future.
Absolutely. Well, we'd love to, have you join our cohort if possible, so that we can develop our business and community. If that's really what you're interested in. The one thing that you'll probably see when we really do this collectively is that not only will you build people around you, you'll build yourself, because people do business with people that they know, right? And so you'll find customer bases within this cohort. So, much more than you probably ever know when you build community together. So.
For sure. And I want to make sure that I'm not taking up too much space or whatever, taking away from anyone else's thing too. I really enjoy listening too, but I'm happy to participate as well.
No, absolutely. Again, this will be in community, and we would love to know how we can support you in business, as you move forward. I don't know exactly where you are, if you're at the initial stages, if you're already kind of thriving and you kind of have something humming, or if you're trying to grow. That's really where you can, when you think about all the stages of business, having people in different stages is the same thing I do with my life. I always have a mentor that's guiding me from a long-term standing, meaning that they've already gone through what I've gone through. I have somebody that is kind of with me alongside me, and we're doing this thing together that I can kind of bounce those ideas off of. Or if I'm having that moment of, hey, you know what, this is happening to me, I can have that shared experience with someone who may be going through it with me. And then also bringing other businesses that are maybe at infant stages and bringing them up to say, hey, here's what you can do. There's a real sense of collective when you can do that, and you can have shared experiences. That person that may be just kind of coming into business, they can shine light with you, because they have fresh eyes, and sometimes they may be able to tell you something or share something with you that you didn't know, or maybe even a resource or a tool, right? And so when you have all of those elements within a business cohort as well, you'll go, like Tammy said, not only will you'll go together, but you'll go further. So, all right.
Well, super rad. Thank you for having us. I sent this out to 5 or 6 of my other maker friends. I was like, come on, but we're on the West Coast, so we got a little confused on the timing, but we're really excited about the next
No,
one.
absolutely.
Really nice.
Absolutely. So I will send you, like I said, the video, and you can share it with anyone that you'd like, and ask them to attend. And I actually have a client right now that I did some consulting with, that is in LA. Yeah, I do have customers there as well.
Rad.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye. Okay.